Hey, what's up, guys? Tugi here, back again with another episode of Draft to Glory. And of course, let's get right into this episode. Before we focus on our team, though, there was the question, how has Tamura progressed? The franchise-level player that we missed out on, how has he progressed? Now, I know he went to Carolina. I also want to look at Duncan first, the big-time defenseman that we missed out on. And yeah, that's about as depressing as I thought it would be, as Duncan is a legit top 2 defenseman at a 90 overall. Awesome. It's going to get worse. It's going to get worse. Here we go. Tamura is a 94 overall at 22 years old. Oh, why did you guys want to see this? It's just twisting the knife. What's the matter with you? You guys are sadists. Now, as far as his point production, it hasn't been crazy. I don't know, obviously, the rest of Carolina's team, if we look at their combination. I mean, they have Pasternak, Ryan Johansson. They don't have that elite player. I mean, Pasternak's an 89. He's the first-line guy. But he doesn't have, say, a Nolan Patrick to work with, which would have been great. But that is not the case. But there you go, your update on Tamura. Yes, I'm not opposed to saying his name. It does hurt a little bit every time I have to. I'd like to pretend that he doesn't exist. That would be great. That he was never drafted. We simply lost the lottery and missed out on a medium elite player. That's that's what I'd prefer. Those are my alternative facts. Oh man, I was sitting here saying like, oh, should I even say that because it's slightly political? That is about as political as I'm going to get. So there you go. Anyway, we have 47 contracts. So I'm gonna look to sign 2 veterans here, and as we progress into the new season, of course, the question is, what will we do trade-wise? And at the moment, I'm still unsure, but we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. We will have to take a look at who will potentially need to move out. Now, as far as veterans, I meant to hit the other trigger there. There we go. All right, as far as veterans, Nick Foligno is an option. Brian Flynn. Brad Malone. Anybody else that's kind of terrible? Beck. Karainen. Stepan still half decent. Is that Dwight? That must be Dwight King. But, you know what? Let's go with 73 overall Nick Foligno. Yeah, you're not getting a 2-year deal. You are insane if you think that's happening. But you will get a $17 million deal for 1 season. And for veterans, we could go with Marco Scandella. We could. I mean, 75 overall is a bit much, but as far as other options for veterans, it's not too great. So let's go with Scandella. We can't give him the max deal, but we can give him pretty close, and we are good to go. The reason why I haven't decided what to do, at least not 100%, with trading, is the fact that we don't know what kind of progression we're going to get from some players. We may have to make a decision with our goaltending that I certainly, I hope we don't have to make, but it could happen. Who's to say Marmon will stay in the same role? Who's to say that Saget won't continue to progress? We will see what happens with those two. And then with the rest of the players, the trade values are just awful. So we're not going to get anything even half decent, regardless of how I move forward with it. But it's been a couple of minutes into this video, and I haven't even mentioned the fact that we made the playoffs in the last episode, right? We made the playoffs, and we almost pulled off the miracle of beating the New Jersey Devils in the first round. So what will this season bring? That is the same question year in and year out. Will that progression continue? We've made the playoffs. Now can we win a series? Are we good enough yet? Or maybe we take a step back. Maybe the sim isn't as kind to us this season. No way to know until we get into it, but here we go. Let's take a look at our team and see if anybody has progressed to a level better than we expected. So, of course, we'll start off with the goaltending. Quirk, still an elite goalie. Ottinger, still a backup. And Saget stayed at an 84, which is good as far as not having to make a deal, but isn't great from the, always probably locked in at an 84 at 24 years old perspective. But the goaltending is still good to go. The goaltending is still good to go. Janes is an 89. Damn, as is Wheating. Fantastic. So Goring will be sent down. 2, 4, 6. Ah, god damn it, Scandella's an 81. Well, we'll just have to play him down in Hershey, won't we? Another guy who I just never expected the morale to be an issue with. I could call up Ronkel, but we'll have him on the top pairing down in the AHL. So, actually, you know what? I'm going to go with Malakoff. Yeah, he still has potential. Plouffe doesn't. So there you go. Our defense is locked in. The lowest overall guy is an 81. Not too shabby. 2 top 4 defensemen as well. And then forwards, we're going to have to obviously send some people down as we figure this out. Still not looking too great, unfortunately. Owen Lane actually dropped to a 76, which is a bit disappointing. But he should still factor in to the lineup when you look at how many players we're having to send down here. Let's double check. Actually, he might not. We're going to have to go best lines. It's going to be him or Johansson, and it'll probably be Johansson depending on his potential. Low top 9. So you know what? I'm just going to go with whoever the game recommends. So let's take a look. We'll go best lines. And then the NHL lineup will be pretty much set. And it went with Johansson. So unfortunately, Owen Lane is going to be sent down to the AHL, where he should be a pretty damn good player for that team at that level. And of course, the Hershey Bears made the playoffs last year as well. So it's going to be interesting. It is going to be interesting to see what happens. But let's take a look in the system. Of course, goaltending were good. Goalies were good. Defensively. So we have 2, 4, 6. And then Janes is out of the lineup. Low top 6, though. I'm not too concerned. Hayduk isn't going to progress anymore. Bobrovsky, Byrne, Hood. I mean, Byrne, low top 4 at 20 years old. You'd probably want him in the lineup. I might just keep the team the same, to be honest. I might just keep the team the same. You could argue actually calling up Scandella, and if he plays, who cares, I guess. No, that's the tough thing. That's the tough thing. I don't want him to play at the NHL level at all. He's too good for that. So we will play him down at the AHL level, which means Janes wouldn't be in the lineup, but I'm not stressing out too much over that. I think our defense is good. Yes, we have some players that we could get rid of for picks, and I still might explore that option, but there's nobody that we absolutely have to move. And then for forwards, we're good. There are some unsigned players that we have. I can actually send Nick Foligno up, but let's double check here. I know we had a few players unsigned, so we can take a look at that very quickly. Unfortunately, the pace that we set in the last episode, with that episode being under an hour, fairly certain, of course, again, you would already know if this is the case, but I'm fairly certain we're not going to be able to match that. This video will be another marathon. But for unsigned players, we do have Yell and Harrison that need to get into the lineup. Defensively, nobody really. I mean, Paris Hogan we could sign, but I'm in no rush. So, we need to make room for 2 forwards. So let me go back and double check. See who we want to clear out of here. Walter McIntyre, who I mentioned last season, last episode, call it what you will. Mentioned him quite a bit. I think he's finally on the chopping block. We do have quite a few players here, though. Quite a few players. So you know what? Maybe we will get rid of some defensemen. And yeah, I think we're going to have to make some trades here. We're going to have to make some trades, which is fine. We will clear up a couple of roster spots and take it from there. So, as far as how we're going to handle this, that's a very good question. That is a very good question. I think I still want to do the straight 1-for-1, as it's the easiest way to handle it, as you get a look at our trade values. Sadobin, an 89 overall, which is pretty sick. Now, McIntyre's on his way out. Boys we're going to keep, just because he still has a bit of value. Burns, a 70 at 23 years old. We can get rid of him as well. We have Ryan, Card. Who else do we want to go for here? You know, that might just be good enough. So let's see. McIntyre. Should have hit the right stick. I hate that you can't do that once you've already selected him. He was a 3rd-round pick. Now, I don't think we could get a 3rd-round pick back for him if we tried. Now, we are going to go to the Arizona Coyotes. They were the first team available. So, at best, we're allowed to try and get a 4th. That honestly might go through. And you know what? Is that a big enough punishment? You know what? It's not. I'm going to say at best we're allowed to get a 5th. I'm going to say at best we're allowed to get a 5th. We failed to hit on a 3rd-round pick. Yes, we do recoup a pick, but it is a 5th-rounder. What are the odds that it'll be anything decent? What are the odds? You know what? We're going to 7th. We're going to 7th. We're giving them away. I feel better about that. I feel better about that. That's a punishment. We had a 3rd-round pick. We failed. We get a 7th back for him instead of letting him go for nothing. But odds are that 7th is going to be nothing. So, I don't know. Like I said, it's tough. It is tough to decide how to handle this. But as far as that trade goes, I feel fine about it. We might have gotten a 4th, maybe the 5th if we had tried. Definitely a 6th, I'd say, at the very least. But for now, at least that first trade. The second trade, who knows? I might just go for it. Let's find out here. Overall wise, yeah, Burns makes sense to get rid of here. And I might get rid of Ryan as well. 68 overall at 22 years old. You know what? I'm going to get rid of him as well. They're both low top 9. I'm going to stick with the 1-for-1. Let's go talk to the Columbus Blue Jackets. And hold on. Damn it. Burns, and I can't. This is awful. I'm off my game. I'm sorry. I am off my game as far as menu management to start this episode. Burns was a 6th-round pick. Right. Well, Columbus, I guess I'm going to ask for a 7th. I'll ask for another 7th. I planned on trying to get a little bit more, but I'll take a 7th for him. That's fine. I'll take a 7th. So, 3 7th-round picks. Not too shabby. Maybe we'll find a hidden gem. Maybe we'll find a hidden gem. And then with Ryan, he was a 5th-round pick. All right. So with Ryan, how about we talk to the Edmonton Oilers? He was a 5th-round pick. I'm going to go for a 4th. Not a 4th. I'm going to go for a 6th. What am I saying? 6th-round pick for him? Yes, indeed. There we go. That frees up a couple of spots. And then on defense, let's get rid of 1 or 2 players. Not sure who. Let's take a look. The least valuable guy is Hayduke, obviously, but he might still have a bit of value, seeing as he can play. Hood. Hood is on his way out. He was a 7th-round pick, too. Damn. Well, go figure, of course, the players that we're getting rid of were low-end players that weren't going to become anything. It could become a vicious cycle of just acquiring 7th after 7th, but I'm all right with that. I'm all right with that. And yeah, I'm sure fans are going to cheer in the streets about a 7th-round pick. I am sure that is going to happen. Who else can we get rid of here? Who else? Bobrovsky we might want to keep. We might want to keep him. So do we go with Plouffe or Hayduke? You know, and overall, I think we might be good. Yeah, you know what? I think we're good. So let's go sign those 2 forwards. Now that we have space, we'll get the AHL lines set up, and then we can finally get into the sim here in this episode, and we will see what the Washington Capitals are capable of this season. So unsigned players, we go sort by potential. We have Yell. We'll sign him up, and I can't remember. I hope I'm not making the mistake of signing someone who was CHL eligible. I genuinely can't remember. It's little details like that that can be lost when I record the next day, or if, you know, even especially too like a few days after. I feel like both guys were good to go. I mean, even if they're not and I can't play them down at the AHL level, it's not a big deal. It's not a big deal. We would have had to sign them eventually. Harrison, we couldn't sign, but Yell, we could. I was going to get rid of the players that we traded away anyway, so it's fine. It's fine. So, we go down to the AHL. We go best lines again. Where is Nottinen? You got to take him out of the lineup again. For Yell, actually. So there you go. And then we'll look to get Bomick in the lineup for Zach Buddish. Do we have a left wing that's scratched? No, we don't. Okay, so Nottinen and Buddish are the two scratched players. So that's perfect. That is perfect. And this team is looking pretty good. Do I want to... Yeah, I should. I should just... let's go by potentials here. Low top 6, low top 9, medium top 9. What else do we have here? Medium top 6, medium top 9, medium bottom 6. Right. So hold on. Whitco, we're going to bump up there. Where were the other low potentials? Coop and Card. We got Järvinen, who was the AHL Player of the Year last year, so he'll be on the top line. Let's have him up there with Yell and Lane. How does that sound? Järvinen is a center as well, so that's perfect. Second line. Second line is good. Beautiful. Third line. Best face-off man is Coop. And yeah, screw it, we'll play him at center. And then the fourth line. We are good to go. We're good to go. So, lowest overall guy, the 69 overall Rudy Yell that we just drafted. And then defensively, do I want to take out Marco Scandella or let him play? Well, let's take him out for Janes or Byrne. Do I want to give low top 4 that much time? Or do we go Janes or Hayduk? Tough to say. Let's go with Janes. Let's go with Janes and get him a bit more time. And, of course, on the top pairing, we'll go with Combs and Ronkel. Verkunen just isn't going to progress to what we were hoping that he would be. So, there you have it. There you have it. Finally, this team is set. This is an aspect that, you know, a part of the series that we didn't have to pay attention to in the last episode. The team was just pretty much good to go from the start. As we'll plug Motto into the lineup. And we're good. Alright, let's get this sim on the road. If I was ever tempted to jump cut to the end of a season in an episode, this would be the one. But damn it, the standard has been listen to me talk for an hour. You guys have been enjoying it. So let's keep it going. I forgot to set the scouting. Damn it, that's what happens. That's what happens when you're in a rush. And when you felt like the first part of the episode took a little bit too long, you miss out on a week of scouting. Alright, well, and yep, now we're clicking the wrong buttons. This is just wonderful. This is just wonderful. We will start overseas this time. Let's scout the Russian forwards. We'll go 3 weeks, see if we can get some details on them. One of you, and I'm sorry, I don't remember your account name, but you'll know who you are, did mention the fact that I tend to obviously draft players from overseas as opposed to the CHL. Of course, the reason for that is obvious, you know, wanting to actually be able to send guys down to Hershey so that they can play immediately. But it's not like I'm against drafting CHL players. If they're high-end enough, then obviously I will. You know, if they're the best player available, if it's clear that they're going to be medium top 6 or even medium top 9, as opposed to a player overseas who might be, you know, low top 9 or maybe even medium bottom 6, the CHL guy is going to win. That just hasn't been the case too often in our drafts. We haven't really had that luck. I mean, especially too when you end up with someone like Yuri Hudobin as a high-end player as opposed to him being a CHL guy. It's just how the series has panned out. But with that in mind, of course, we are starting to scout overseas first, and we'll see how that works out. As far as who we are scouting, again, I think we'll pass on goaltenders. Now, There was a half-decent goalie in the last draft. Of course, we didn't really have to focus on that. And at the time, the choice was fairly obvious in as far as, who we took in the first round of the previous episode. I stand by my point. If we have a top 10 pick, a top 5 pick, and there is a goalie inside the top 5, top 10, maybe then we'll look at drafting a goaltender. But for now, the plan is still to focus solely on skaters and forwards primarily. I mean, defense, we have had a few misses, unfortunately. Like I mentioned, Verkunen isn't going to pan out like we hoped that he would have. We have hit with some other defensemen, of course, from the first year. Moroza and Manulin have both progressed and have become staples of this series and fixtures on this team. So, we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens because we don't know if we're going to be a playoff team. We don't know if we're going to regress and miss out. We could just miss the playoffs and win the lottery. It happened for the Philadelphia Flyers. It basically happened for us in this series already. So it's tough to speculate. It is very tough to speculate when there is just no telling how this team is going to perform this season. But I will say, I have high expectations. Reasonably so. Again, we made the playoffs last year, so why wouldn't I have that little bit, higher expectations moving forward? Am I sitting here being like, oh, we're going to win the division, we're going to win the President's Trophy? No, of course not. But anything can happen. Anything can happen. Like, losing 3 straight games as I sit here and talk about my playoff hopes. That's cool. That's real promising. But again, there's always a flip side. Last season, have I repeated myself enough? It looked like we were in trouble, and then magically we made the playoffs. So anything can happen as Polak goes down to an injury. Let's just go best lines. And we'll, of course, take Nick Foligno out of the lineup. The Hershey Bears doing okay so far. 10 wins on the year. It should be an interesting season for us. You never know. And I think the past 2 episodes kind of prove that. What having a player the caliber of Nolan Patrick can do. The 2 defensemen that we have, Quirk and goal. Those handful of players alone can completely change the outlook of a team. The sim engine on this game is a mystery. You can have a 60-win team in the regular season get stomped in the playoffs. You can have a team that barely made it to the playoffs with an 83 overall goalie win the Stanley Cup. You just never know. And in a way, that is the beautiful thing about this game, as Cork is having a good year. Ottinger also having a good season. Hard to believe Ottinger's going to be locked into the backup role despite being an 86 overall. That is a high-end backup goalie, though. That is for sure. The goaltending situation couldn't have worked out any better. Well, no, it could have. Never mind. I mean, Marminland, the fact that he and Saget are both minor league starting goalies is kind of an issue. Of course, I haven't checked to see if Marminland has an issue with it. If he does, well, he'll let us know when he refuses to re-sign with us. Although, if that were to be the case, I could just back the dump truck loaded with money up to his front door, and I don't think he'd be able to decline at that point, as Yuri Hadobin fractures his ankle and is out until February. He is out until February 1st. That probably just sealed the fact that we're not going to make the playoffs. That's all it takes. An injury like that to a player the caliber of Yuri Hadobin, that is our season done right there. Unless Nolan Patrick can truly carry this team on his back. Unless he can truly... Oh, God, and Cork goes down to injury for a couple of weeks. All right, yep, this season's over. This season is over. Absolutely. Absolutely. Let's call up Kolosov. Wow, that is brutal. And again, the injury slider. We decided on Rebuilding Hockeytown that having the injury slider at 9 out of 100 is a pretty decent point. You know, a pretty decent spot to have it. But it's just, if the injury bug wants to bite, it will bite. And that has been the case this season. That has been the case. And like I said, I know we beat Philly, but I think our playoff chances are out the door. We are without Quirk. We are without Hedobin. This season is all but over. So there goes the hope. The regression, though. The regression might not be a bad thing. Again, we could end up with a higher pick, which is always good because, well, drafting-wise, we've done okay in the later rounds. You know, like 3rd round, 4th round. We typically at least draft players that are the common potential at that stage in the draft. In this series, quite a bit, it's been, say, low top 9 that everybody's been drafting. There have been very few occasions where it's been, oh, everyone's getting medium top 9 players and I took a low bottom 6. So we've avoided that situation for the most part, not entirely. So maybe, in a way, regressing a little bit and getting another high-end player to help really restock the cabinet wouldn't be a terrible thing. That's all I'm saying. As I'm losing steam. Losing steam, man. All right. I wasn't going to do this. Swig of Arnold Palmer. I need it. Delicious. Oh, delicious. I cannot clear my throat. This is awful. Oh, my God. So professional. So professional. I apologize. I do. It's just pure stubbornness. That's all it is. It is pure stubbornness on my part to just say, you know what? No, I'm making it, and I'm keeping the edits to a minimum, if not to a just outright not a thing. That's not English. That wasn't a sentence. Again, I apologize. Again, I am recording very late in the day after waking up very early, but that is the dedication I have to making these videos. Why do I have that level of dedication, you might be asking? I don't know. I genuinely don't know. But, the sim for this season is taking so much longer than last. With the moves we had to make, the setup at the start of the episode, the injuries, you factor in scouting certain areas for only a couple of weeks as opposed to, say, a month or month and a half. I had a feeling this video would be longer than the previous video, and that has absolutely turned out to be the case. Of course, I don't know how long this video will be. You guys do. But at this stage, I am willing to bet, even with us missing the playoffs, which will most likely happen, I'm willing to bet this video is going to be over an hour, which, quite a few people might not be too disappointed in. But let's get Wojciech back into the lineup. How's Rudy Yell doing? 19 points in his rookie year. Not too bad for the Belgian. We really, though, don't have time to look at stats. We'll do that later. We will do that at the end. The Hershey Bears, wow. I didn't even notice. 25, 9, and 2. How do you like that? I mean, obviously, their goaltending is great. Their defense is pretty damn good for AHL level. They don't have that elite scoring threat that most teams seem to end up with for their AHL team. But overall, that's a really strong record. As Yuri Hedobin is 100%, hopefully not fully healthy before that Chicago game. We have to make sure we don't want his morale to plummet. There we go. He's 100%. Good. That might keep our season alive. We are, unfortunately, 13 points back of Pittsburgh, who are in one of the 2 wildcard spots. So that's not very promising now, is it? But here we go. Nick Foligno, you are out of the lineup in favor of Motto. And we are good to go. Can we make the playoffs? The final stretch of the season. We're at the All-Star break. Actually past the All-Star break now. Or are we? When's the All-Star break? Oh, okay, well, February 1st. We're at the All-Star break. Nearly past it. We have a lot of games to go, though. A lot of games to go. But that's okay. That's okay. It's going to be a lot of losses. My hope at this stage is that we can at least avoid injury, maybe. I've already admitted defeat for this season. I think we'll be a lottery team, maybe even with a top 10 pick, potentially better. And as I say that, we beat the Chicago Blackhawks 8-2. This game is so unpredictable as we end up with another injury, a fractured jaw to Manulin. Great. And of course, this is where Scandella would have come in handy, but I don't want to play him on the team because he is a little bit too good. Although, you know what? I might just call him up. He's just as good as Dylan Plouffe is. So if I didn't call up Scandella, I'd call up Plouffe. So you know what? Let's call up Scandella. It's not going to matter. He's just as good as what our top call-up would be anyway. So I don't think it's too big of a deal. I don't think anyone is really going to mind. I mean, it makes sense. If he was head and shoulders better than our first call-up option, then yeah, it'd be pretty shitty. But he's not, so it's fine. And he wasn't playing anyway, so that's fine by me. But Combs and Ronquel, yeah, they're doing all right. You'd still like to see a little bit better progression from them. But let's keep this going. I said I wanted to avoid the injuries. Unfortunately, that was met with a nearly immediate injury thanks to this game, so that's cool. Appreciate that. My God, the scouting. Can we just get to the CHL already so I can assign for multiple weeks? There we go. USA forwards for 3 weeks. That sounds good. We are in February 2026. That is crazy. We are quickly approaching the decade mark in this series, which I had a feeling it would go pretty quick, but this is only episode 11, and yes, we handle it an hour at a time, but I still didn't think we'd go through the series this quickly. But again, this has the potential to be a 25-episode series, meaning we go through 25 seasons. That could very well be the case for what we do here, which I'm not opposed to. I am not opposed to in the slightest, but it is only February 19th. We are 17 points out of the playoffs at the moment because the Metro Division lacks either wildcard spot. We have a ton of games still, but very obvious what this season is. And at this stage, I just want to get it over with. But again, rather than making a jump cut, I have to sit here through this as I watch our team just rack up the losses. And of course, I know we just beat Columbus, but you get my point. So if I have to sit here somewhat depressed at watching our team lose constantly, then damn it, you should be too. Join me in the misery of watching our team take an unfortunate step back this season, in large part due to injury. But also, we didn't get the progression from some players that I was hoping for. Now, Hadobin, going up to an 89 overall is fantastic, but certain forwards, that bottom six is still a little bit rough. We really need to strike gold in this upcoming draft when it comes to forwards, and that is the hope. But you watch, we'll get to the draft, and it'll be, hey, here's this forward that you know nothing about, even though you scouted that region for a couple of weeks. But, oh, what's that? A defenseman that you didn't scout at all. But magically, he shows up as exact elite, or whatever the hell it is. It'll be something like that. You get my point. It won't be that exact scenario. But the game will find a way to tempt me into drafting the defenseman, which, in fairness, we do, of course, still need defensemen. We need everybody. This team still isn't great all around. We just got lucky with some of the high-end talent that we ended up with. So let's see. If I were to go 5 weeks here, that would be quite a while. So hold on. Let's start off in the queue. So let's say 3 weeks for forwards, 2 weeks for defensemen. 20%. that will be a little bit short. We'll go 2 weeks for each, just to start, and then if we have extra weeks to scout, we'll go for the forwards. The month of March quickly coming to a close. Unfortunately, we are only on 30 wins now, 31, after the victory over Tampa. Sad day, sad times for the Washington Capitals, but we'll be back. We will be back, but we need to have a big-time draft ahead of us. And, I'm feeling a bit optimistic. Again, will we win the lottery, despite, having a terrible pick? I doubt it, as, of course, Wheating goes down to injury. I'm not even going to bother taking, Foligno. Couldn't think of his name. Not even going to bother taking him out of the lineup, which is going to affect our actual player. But I'm not all that concerned, really. Yeah, Wheating's already healthy, so there you go. There you go. So Foligno gets to play a game. We'll take him out. Dobin's still at an 89. Nolan Patrick may have capped out at a 92 overall, which I'm happy with for the very first pick of this series. That was a hell of a player to draft. I cannot remember for the life of me where Nico Hischier ended up. I just can't remember. I'm sure you guys could look it up and find him. I still don't think we made the wrong choice considering the amount of awards Nolan Patrick took home last year. And I don't recall seeing Hischier near the top of the scoring race whatsoever through all of these seasons. So, I don't feel too bad about it. That was a pretty good pick. And there you have it. It is official as we miss out on the playoffs this year. The Hershey Bears, though, 2 games left in their regular season. They have a chance to win 50 games, which would be a great achievement, and we will be able to follow along with them through this postseason. Can they get win number 50? I have no idea if they did. We'll have to check the scouting first, though. Let's go to the OHL for 2 weeks. And we'll hope for the best, so we will stop the sim. I have no idea if they ended up with 50 wins. It's not going to show us. But anyway, they are playing the Bridgeport Sound Tigers in the first round. Let's follow along with the Bears. At least a 49-win season. And they have a 2-1 series lead on the Sound Tigers after dropping Game 1. Can they close them out in Game 4? They could not. They go to the decisive Game 5. And they won. Thankfully, they won. I 100% expected them to lose. The Bears move on to the second round to play the Lehigh Valley Phantoms. Let's see what happens here in this matchup. And it's not looking too good so far, is it? Not looking too good. We'll scout the OHL defense for 2 weeks. Let's see, is it a clean sweep? It is. Well, that's an incredible disappointment to this year. Wow. So overall, a pretty big step back. We miss out on the playoffs with the Caps. The Bears do win at least 49 games. I'm assuming 50. But then they crash and burn in the second round of the playoffs, being swept by the Phantoms. Of course, the Philadelphia Flyers AHL affiliate. Damn. I had high hopes for this episode, as I mentioned. I thought we would easily return to the playoffs. And then the injury bug decided to show up and ruin my day. Which, you know what? It happens. It happens. We're staying optimistic about this team. Think of it this way. Maybe we get into the top 3 as the Boston Bruins win the Stanley Cup, the Ontario Reign, the Calder Cup. Think of it this way. View this as when the Montreal Canadiens had a really terrible year and ended up with Alex Galchenyuk. Maybe, just maybe, that is what we'll have in this draft. But anyway, before we get to the draft, let's take a look at some stats, shall we? So we finished with 77 points this season. A pretty big decline for us, unfortunately. 25th in the league, which isn't bad. The 6th pick as we head into the lottery. So there's a chance that we could do some... we could easily move up into the top 3. I don't even necessarily want the number 1 pick. Just top 3 would be pretty sweet. As far as our goals for per game, it was pretty low. The 4th lowest goals for per game this season. which is very disappointing. Again, I mentioned that secondary scoring was weak, and that proved to be the case. Goals against per game, not too bad. We were middle of the road. I don't believe, I'm too tired to count. I don't believe we were in the top 10 for goals against per game, which is pretty sweet. Power play lines and all that doesn't really matter too much. Doesn't matter too much. Let's take a look at the stats. And Nolan Patrick, that says the story right there, doesn't it? Only 68 points this year. Svechnikov 54. Same for Ola Ekman, which for 79 overall is spectacular. Conley with 46. Hedobin only 41 points, but in 65 games, he of course missed quite a bit of time. As you get a look at the rest of the point totals, a pretty disappointing year. The goaltending, was that a part of the issue, or did we win mainly thanks to them? And a 9-15, not great. 9-10, not great. But given our lineup, I'm happy with what this team was. To be honest, I expected this to be the performance from the previous years. You get a look at the scoring rates. It was a pretty low point totals for, just low scoring season is the terminology I'm looking for. Oh my God. Wow. Man, I am off my game today, but that's fine. That's fine. You can't bat 1,000 every day. But a lot of younger players, a lot of creative players towards the top of that list. Damn, Valeri Nichushkin as well up there. Wow, it's not even the Valeri Nichushkin. That was a computer-generated player. Interesting. Very interesting. Let's get a look at the bracket. We'll take a look at the cup-winning team, the Boston Bruins. They beat the Blackhawks in 6. Vengeance! What was that, 11 years later? Well, no, that was 20. Jeez, man. Yeah, the Bruins lost to Chicago in 2013. That was long ago already, wasn't it? It's 4 years ago. That pain hasn't gone away. It feels like yesterday, let me tell you. Let me tell you. Owen Lane at least led the Hershey Bears in scoring as I scramble to change the subject. We'll take a look at the Stanley Cup winning Boston Bruins. So they had Eli Tolvanen, they had Shane Bowers, Eric Cornell, Jared McCann, among others. I'm not too surprised. Pretty well-rounded lineup overall. Not too shabby. Defensively, how did they square up? Valimaki, Charlie McAvoy, Pavel Brelin, 4th overall pick from the 2023 draft. Ole Mata, Jake McCabe. Not too shabby. Not too shabby. With Oleg Kabanov. Oleg Kabanov taken with the 18th pick in the 2018 draft. Magic number, I guess. There you have it. The Stanley Cup winning Boston Bruins. Let's take a look at the awards and then finally get into the draft for this episode. The Player Awards. Eli Tolvanen wins the Art Ross and the Hart Trophy. Erik Karlsson the Norris. Tolvanen the Lady Byng. Volchenkov the Calder, Tolvanen the Conn Smythe, Montgomery the Vezina, Kavanagh the Jennings. As I, again, start to lose my voice, but that's all right. We'll make it through. Yoki Harju wins the Masterton. Nolan Patrick wins another Selke. His 3rd Selke. Not too shabby. That's the bright point of this season. Nolan Patrick taking home some hardware. Were we able to pick up any hardware, though, at the AHL level? We were. Saget and Marminland, the best combo in the league this season. I was kind of hoping Owen Lane, I know he only had 55 points. I was kind of hoping that he would have won something. Didn't happen, though. Didn't happen. As we get a look at the lottery, unfortunately, we didn't move up. We end up with the 6th overall pick. We could still end up with something decent, though. Absolutely. If there's a player inside the top 5 and a team goes off the board with their pick, we might get a little bit lucky. Patrick Kane, Stamkos, Kessel, some big-time, high-end talent retiring in this draft. Interesting. I meant to scout that by games played, and you still pretty much get a look at the same names. I didn't look at goaltenders. I apologize for that. I haven't made that mistake too much, though, so that's good. Let's do this. Let's get into the draft. I'm not looking at the board beforehand, ahead of time. I don't care. Let's get into this. Let's take a look at the players available. Yikes. Well, wish we won the lottery. Yuri Yaskin. The Russian sniper. Would have been a hell of a player. We had Vadadnov. Yuri Dadonov, if you're pronouncing it properly. But, I mean, come on. It's YouTube. You got to say Dadnov, right? You have to. We have a couple of other decent guys. There is a goalie here inside the top 10, surprisingly. But he wouldn't... Oh, man, high starter. He would probably be... That's tough now. That's tough. We don't necessarily need him, but if you look at the other players inside the top 10, it's the same situation. I just don't have information on them. We have Justin Loynes. I'm going to guess that's how that's pronounced. We have Pierre Lalonde. We have another defenseman in Ronald Mancari. But then there's this goaltender, Zach Prince, who might have to be our pick. My hope is that Alex Sanford or Nash, that's somebody. Because the top 5 is all forwards. My hope is that someone goes off the board, takes that goalie, and leaves us with a forward. Let's find out. We'll sim the first pick, and it's Wisniewski, medium elite. All right, we'll sim the next pick. Sanford, medium elite. All right, Dadonov, medium elite. Nash, high top 6. And Yaskin, damn, he fell to 5th. But all 5 forwards were selected. All 5 forwards were selected. So do I take a risk on Lalonde or Loynes, or do I go with a goalie who is pretty much guaranteed to be medium elite? Now, if I were to select him, it's different as opposed to if this was rebuilding Hockey Town, where it would be obvious to take this guy and, you know, just trade him, even if we don't need him. But in this series, where we're not allowed to trade player for player, it's pretty much pointless. So do we take him and get rid of an Ottinger or somebody else down the line? Or do we take a risk on Pierre Lalonde, who's 19, Justin Loynes is 18, both, of course, CHL players? I don't know. I might have to go with the goalie, guys. It makes sense. It makes sense. We know he's going to be really good. I mean, Loynes, Lalonde. Damn it. You know what? If this was try-hard mode, we would take Prince. But I feel like we have our goalie already. We're going to go with Lalonde because he's a center, and I know I tend to take playmakers and snipers a lot, so some of you might be saying the two-way forward. But, again, having a center is extremely valuable. You know, someone who actually has a half-decent face-off rating. We're going to go with Lalonde. Prince would be the guy in try-hard mode. We're going with Lalonde. He's medium top 6. All right. Ah, damn it. All right. Well, there's a big swing and miss. There's a big swing and miss. Montgomery was medium starter. Prince was medium elite, as we knew. That's crazy that he fell down to 10th. Loynes was the better option. Or, yeah, I imagine that's how it's pronounced. He was the better option, unfortunately. I mean, some people might say, oh, you should have known what the fucking potential it was showing you. But it's a shot in the dark. It's a shot in the dark, and we failed. If you don't think it's a shot in the dark, then hey, that's fine. That's fine. Oh, my God. Yeah, that stings. 74 overall at 18 years old, medium elite potential. And he has 74 face-offs, so you watch. He'll have a better face-off rating than the center that we selected, right? That's how it's going to be. And Lalonde's a 65 at 19 years old. Oh, my God. And 72 face-offs. Yep. All right. All right. Well, that's just fucking wonderful, isn't it? Oh, swing and miss. Should have just gone with the goalie. Should have just gone with the goalie. Well, this episode's right back into pretty awful territory. Wow, that really sucks. Like, that really, really sucks to miss that harshly. Man, I don't, I don't even want to talk about it anymore. That's a rough pick. It didn't work out. Let's just move on. And unfortunately, we don't have a lot of information on a lot of these other players. Now, who do we go with? I mean, as far as who we do have information on, we have Czechmanic. Richard Czechmanic, 19 years old. All right. Or we could go with Lee Chorney, also 19. They're both playmakers. They are both playmakers. Now, Chorney was, Swiss. So who do we go with? Who do we go with? I guess, again, I'm going to have to go with the center. I know that strategy just bit me in the ass, but we're going to go with Chorney. And we're going to hope for the best. Medium top 9. That's not awful for this stage of the draft. We'll take a look. We'll scroll back through. But so far, not too excited about what's taking place here in this draft. Medium top 9. I mean, that wasn't a terrible pick. That was a pretty good pick. Czechmanic also medium top 9. So that was a decent pick. But that first round pick really stings. Absolutely. Wow, we just have nobody scouted, apparently. Cool. Third round, though, we do have a guy here who is projected to go in the third, which is good. And that is the German Jörg Hilpert, 18 years old. He's our guy. That's pretty much the only option. So Jörg Hilpert, or Jorg Hilpert, you are the next Washington Capital. And you are low top 9. I was really hoping for medium. Top 9. That didn't pan out now, did it? Let's scroll back here. Was that the right selection? No, it wasn't. Should have gone with Demarchi. Or Demarchi. Oh, well, this is my least favorite draft yet. Potentially my least favorite episode. It just hasn't been kind. But here in the fourth round, and I know I didn't really take a look at exact potentials. Here in the fourth round, we have Mario Huet, 18 years old, who played for the Quebec Ramparts. Or we go with Vitaly Mikhanov, 17. So he's going to be a bit of a project. Or we could go Sergei Kulikov, also 17 years old. Do we go with Huet? 18 years old. Quebec Rampart. Mikhanov, Kulikov. Who to go with? Let's go with Vitaly Mikhanov. Or Mikhanov. Yeah, let's just... I feel like this draft is already an extreme disappointment. And low top 9 for a 17-year-old doesn't make it much better. Rayom was medium top 9. Great. And I know people continue to say, like, oh, you should, look at this potential and stuff like that. I just... When the scouting fails me, right? And I'm sitting here seeing low AHL potential, right? Or someone like this, like Mayorov here, who it's showing as AHL fourth line forward, is probably projected to be a freaking high bottom 6. But it's a risk pick. As opposed to, well, not too many other great options here in the fifth round, are there? Not too many other great options. So for that reason, I could go with Daig, Bernard Daig, who played for Halifax, or I could take a risk on one of these guys with high league interest. And as far as forwards go, there are 3 of them. We have Maxim Komatov. I'm going to go with Komatov, the Russian sniper. We have Bernard Tremblay. Bernard, a popular name, apparently. And we have Jacques Lalonde. I have no idea. I tried to fight off that burp. It didn't happen. Let's go with Komatov, I guess. Sure. Why not? Let's hope for the best. Low bottom 6. Great. Yeah, that's much better than the low top 9s we've been ending up with based on, going off of the people we actually have scouted. This episode, it's a sour taste in the mouth right now. We miss out on the playoffs. This draft has not gone our way in the slightest. Not one bit. Now, we are going to take Kurtz here. Emil Kurtz, 17 years old, who played in Munich. And we'll hope that he might be a late hidden gem. Low top 9, not quite. Not quite. But Montreal's drafting a medium bottom 6 guy. That is right, of course, we do have these later picks. I forgot all about that. Not like it's going to help with how the draft has gone for me, so that's good. We'll take this guy, though, the defenseman, Ian Reardon. Reardon. We'll pick him up, and we'll hope for the best. Turns out the best wasn't that great, was it? Turns out the best just wasn't that great. 7th round, I am defeated. In this episode, I am just defeated. I am borderline depressed from this. Oh, man. Alright, so who's it going to be? Here in the 7th round, we'll continue to go with forwards. We have 2 power forwards and 2 playmakers. Now, as far as playmakers go, we do have Curtis Parks with high league interest. We have Ross Marr and Vyacheslav Kenins. Not quite typical power forward size. We also have a couple of defensemen, but we'll hold off. Let's go with Marr. Why not? What was he, 6'3", typical power forward. Low bottom 6, what a surprise. Kenins also low bottom 6. Oh, I just want this to be over. I just want it to be over. Let's go with Curtis Parks next, simply due to the high league interest. And we'll see if Jääskeläinen is still on the board. Have we drafted a player out? And Jääskeläinen was medium bottom 6, because of course he was. Of course you were. Yep, and of course he got taken with the very next pick. Oh my god. I cannot catch a break in this draft. This has been miserable. Trevor Paul, 6'4", 231. Sure, let's just sign this ox of a player. Medium 7th D. That's a victory at this stage of this episode. That is a victory for us. Wow. Just a miserable episode for me. And as far as who we're taking next, it might just very well be a goalie. Or we go with Igor Brelin. Do I take the goalie? Probably as a low backup. Or do we go with Brelin? Theo Machias or Edward Joffre? Damn. Do we have any funny names? At this stage, I don't care. Do we have any funny names or funny nations or anything? Anybody at all? We have Aronik. No, are you Jason Allison? You are Jason Allison, former Boston Bruin Jason Allison. We have a Kavasha from Belarus. Do we go with Brelin or the goalie? We are probably going to need a new third goalie coming up. Machias or Joffre? Let's go with Brelin. Medium AHL top 2, please. Alright, that works. Cool. I figured he'd be low, just because that's been my luck. Do we have one more pick, or is that it? That was it. Thankfully, mercifully, this episode has come to an end. Or at least that draft has. I'll do the resign phase. Why not? Maybe we can get some positive news. What a miserable draft. By far the worst draft yet. Again, we were presented the opportunity to take a step back, retool a little bit in preparation for next season. That has not worked, to say the least. But let's see if we can get a bit of good news here. I am not holding my breath at all. So we'll re-sign Saget. We'll try to re-sign Kolosov as our 5th goaltender in case of injury. Wheating needs a deal. Of course, we'll just continue to sign these guys to whatever they want. No need to try and save money. Marco Scandella, glad you could revitalize your career. Now get the hell out. We don't need you. Or actually, we do. If we wanted to make the playoffs, you'd be a nice player to have. We'll re-sign Plouffe. Not sure how long we'll hold on to him. Goring as well. For Kunin, someone we could let go of, but I won't. Hayduk. Do I just outright let go of Hayduk? So let's see here. That's 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, Hayduk's out. We're just gonna let Hayduk go. Screw trading him for draft picks. It's not gonna matter anyway. Not at all. Let's sign Bobrovsky. That's fine. We'll sign Byrne. Bring him back. Paris Hogan needs a deal. Anybody else? Marshall, low 7th. I'm not even gonna sign him. Not even going to sign him. We'll just let him go to free agency. Oh, what a miserable, miserable draft. Didn't I send the offer to Paris Hogan? Okay, yeah. It just doesn't show the letter up there. I guess because he was unsigned. Svechnikov needs a contract. Ekman as well needs to be brought back. Johansson, Wojciechowski. His name isn't Tom, but we're going to bring back Clancy or sign him to his first deal. And that's that. Left wings, Owen Lane. He would be good for the AHL team, but I'm going to let him go. I'm going to let him go, and we'll open up that spot for somebody else. We'll let go of Nick Foligno as well. Teal needs to be signed to his opening deal. Josefson as well. This episode is ending on such a low, and can you imagine about time Nolan Patrick decides to decline and leave the team? That would set us back 10 years. It would literally set us back 10 years. We'll see if that happens. Actually, now that I think about that as a possibility, I am pretty nervous about it actually happening. So, fingers crossed. We'll send an offer to Nazarov as well. We have Curtis. We'll bring him back. That's fine. Anybody else? Helenius. Yeah, we'll sign him and Nurmi. That's fine. Oh, man. What a disappointing episode. Wilma, 65 overall. 21 years old. We're going to let him go. No need to actually sign him. And that's that. That is that. Fingers crossed that nobody declines so we can end this episode on somewhat of a bright spot. That's all I'm asking. Just give me something. Anything. To make this episode feel like it wasn't a complete failure. As Nolan Patrick at least re-signs, everybody has accepted their contracts, which is promising. Very promising. Let's go back and double check, make sure we didn't miss anybody. And we will be good to go. Contract-wise, we're not really going to be able to afford to bring in any veterans, which is fine. I'm hoping it'll still really allow me to set up the team the way I would prefer. But UFAs were good. RFAs were good. Unsigned players? Anybody that really should be signed? We do have Lalonde and Chorney. I can only bring in one of them for now. So let's sign up Lalonde, if it lets me. And we'll remember to bring in Chorney and Paul if we're allowed to. And actually, should have double-checked their eligibility. Paul is not eligible. Chorney is, I know that for a fact, and Lalonde isn't. So that was a hell of a mistake. I'm going to send an offer to Chorney. We're going to max it out. And then fingers crossed that Chorney accepts his offer before Lalonde. that will be the bright point that we can end this episode on. So let's see. Please, Chorney, accept first. I beg you. I beg you, please. Lalonde, you screwed me over. That's alright. We will figure out... Actually, you know what? No, let's do it right now. Let's send to free agency. We'll get rid of a player for a draft pick, and then we'll bring in Chorney. Pretty simple. Pretty damn simple. What an awful draft. Oh my god. It started off in the first round, too. Miserable. Absolutely miserable. Let's make a trade. We'll end this on a positive note. Somehow, some way, we will end this on a positive note. So let's go to forwards. Let's go down to the bottom here. We have boys, Motto, Coop, 75 overall, 24 years old. Is there anybody who I'm really not confident in them making it at this point? If we go by age and we look for overall, DePenta, 71 overall. He could progress, though, in the next year. He very well could. Well, yeah, it's not looking too good here. We're just going to have to go by value. So I don't exactly want to get rid of someone like Boys or Motto. They are 77s and are useful for the NHL side. Let's see. You know what? It's going to be DePenta. He's not going to be a major loss either. So let's go talk to our buddies, the Anaheim Ducks, and see. This time I'm just going to try to get whatever I can. If we can get this fourth, cool. Which honestly we would be able to. So I might be able to get a third for him. So let me double check. Let me double check. I mean, it being a little bit unfair about who we get in return here. I mean, I'm all right with it at the moment. I need to pick me up. He was a 6th round pick. Right. So how unfair do I want to be? Because I could potentially get a 3rd round pick. I'm going to try. Whatever. Will that go through? No, it won't. 4th rounder. Can we turn a 6th into a 4th? You know what? I'll trade him for a 7th. I don't even care. I don't even care. Let's get rid of him so that we can bring in the other prospect. What an episode this was. For all the wrong reasons. This will be a fairly memorable episode of this series. And as it comes to a close, I can only say I hope you enjoyed my misery as we went from optimism to soul-crushing defeat thanks to injuries to even more soul-crushing defeat thanks to the draft to trying to find solace in the fact that we signed a medium top 9 forward, and that's the bright point of the episode. Guys, I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please hit that like button. I need something to smile about in regards to this series at the moment. If you haven't subscribed already, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Follow me on Twitter at Tuki24. Join the notification squad to make sure you never miss a video. And I'll see you guys in the next episode of Draft to Glory that will hopefully end on a much more positive note.